はい、皆様大変長らくお待ち。
Thank you for your patience. We'd now like to start the Strategic Partnership Symposium entitled Strategic Partnerships to Strengthen International Competitiveness under the Corona Pandemic. Allow me to introduce myself. I'll be serving as the facilitator. My name is Yaki Hashi. Thank you for your cooperation in advance. Now I'd like to invite the Executive Vice President of the University of Tokyo, Professor Dr. Hayashi Kaori, to give you some opening address on behalf of the organizer. Professor Dr. Hayashi, the floor is yours. Thank you very much, Yaki Hashi-san, for your kind introduction. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Hayashi Kaori, the Executive Vice President of University of Tokyo and responsible for global campus initiatives. At the opening of this symposium, on behalf of the organizer, I'd like to say a few words at the opening of the Strategic Partnership Symposium. Although this is being hosted online, we're able to welcome so many of you. We appreciate the fact that we're able to host this symposium with such a large number of participants today. Now, today's symposium is part of the Building a Network of Strategic Partnerships to Strengthen International Competitiveness among Japanese Universities project, which was adopted by the Japan Forum for Internationalization of Universities. As one of the policies to pursue internationalization of higher education here in Japan, since 2014, Ministry of Education has been adopting the so-called SGU, Super Global University Project, or SGU for short. And under the Super Global University Assistance Project, various universities have taken various initiatives to strengthen their international response, and have also undertaken various initiatives to pursue improvement of the international viability of their programs. As far as the University of Tokyo is concerned, we have established the building of the global campus model for the University of Tokyo, and as a core project, we have positioned the Strategic Partnership University Project as the core of this project. And for over an 8-year period, we have carried out joint research with top leading universities around the world, and I have also conducted international seminars as well as educational programs. As far as the concrete activities of the Strategic Partnership University Project for the University of Tokyo, we will introduce the details in the Strategic Partnership Showcase Example session by Professor Watanabe of the University of Tokyo. Now, we have exchange among universities, but those that have close creative collaborative relations are referred to as strategic partners. When we carry out comprehensive and mutually beneficial initiatives, such as joint research in leading-edge areas, as well as student exchanges, as well as exchange of faculties. Also, in promotion of the Strategic Partnership University Project at our university, we carry out educational exchange that are conducted at the department levels, is actually conducted at the university-wide level. By doing this, we'll be able to more effectively, comprehensively pursue activities, and we'll be able to carry out international activities. We'll be able to carry out international education and research activities, and thereby strengthened our presence globally up until now. Now, the Super Global University Project. This SGU project is an effort to horizontally expand the track record of the participating universities. And for that purpose, Ministry of Education has launched the Japan Forum for Internationalization of Universities in the previous year. Our university have also selected the network building of Strategic Partnership University Project as a challenge. We became a member of the board, and we're now collaborating with 9 other universities that are carrying out their own strategic partnership projects. With regard to the strategic partnership projects that have been promoted by various universities, what have been the outcomes so far? What are some of the good practices that were evolved? And also, what about the challenges faced when they try to create strategic partnership with overseas universities? By sharing such information and experience among other universities horizontally, we would like to contribute to the internationalization of higher education here in Japan furthermore. Now, today's symposium will invite 2 guest lecturers. We will also have Strategic Partnership Showcase example presentation from 6 universities. We'd like to thank all the panelists and speakers for taking part in this symposium. Despite your very busy schedule, we appreciate your valuable time. Now, in the guest lecture will be inviting Chief Inspector for Schools Leader, International Strategy Team, Higher Education Bureau, Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, Science, and Technology, Ms. Kishimoto Orie, to talk about the trends of the internationalization policy of the Japanese universities so far, and also these SGU initiatives, as well as the Japan Forum for Internationalization of Universities, which was launched this fiscal year. We'll be asking her to touch on all these subjects. And also from the University of Zurich, which is the partnership, which is a partner, strategic partner school for Kyoto University, we'll be inviting Vice President, Professor Dr. Christian Schwarzenegger, to talk about his experience with regard to strategic partnership between at the University of Zurich, and also strategic partnership with Japanese universities from the perspective of overseas participant. Now, with regard to showcase examples from the various universities, we'll be inviting Professor Watanabe Satoshi, Special Advisor to the President, University of Tokyo, Dr. Kono Yasuki, Vice President at Kyoto University, Associate Professor Obayashi Saori, also Associate Professor Dr. Kobayashi Osami, as well as Associate Shigami Motoko of the University, and also Professor Dr. Gemma Masahiko of the Waseda University, Vice President, and also Associate Professor Dr. Paul Harness of Soka University. We'll be asking these 6 speakers to share their activities of their strategic partnership project and also talk about their initiatives under the corona pandemic. We really appreciate their contribution. I do hope that today's symposium will be we're very happy to be able to welcome such diverse range of speakers. I'm looking forward to their presentations. I sincerely hope that today's symposium will indeed be a good point for you to look back on the results of the strategic partnership project so far. We hope that this will contribute further to the internationalization of university education here in Japan. And with that, I would like to conclude my opening remarks on behalf of the organizer. Thank you very much.
はい、先生ありがとうございました。それではこれより基調講演に移りたいと思います。
Now we would like to move to guest lectures. First of all, the Chief Inspector for Schools, the leader International Strategy team for the Higher Education Bureau of the MEXT. So, Ms. Kishimoto, please, the floor is yours. Thank you. Thank you very much for the kind introduction. I am the leader of the Higher Education International Strategy project team of MEXT. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak. What I would like to explain to you is the development of internationalization measures for universities at the ministry and had more recent internationalization measures as well as the inbound and outbound international students in Japan. This slide shows the measures that the MEXT had been promoting for internationalizing the universities. You can see the list. The so-called Global 30, the project for establishing core universities for internationalization, which started in fiscal year 2009, we have selected 13 universities. And with the competition, the method, high-quality universities, and we were aiming to have 300,000 international students to be accepted so that the English courses will be made available to achieve this target and try to develop the system and mechanism in receiving such international students and to have the hub schools, the core universities to disseminate the information overseas. We, from the fiscal year 2011, we have selected strategically important countries and territories for Japan to have mutual recognition of credits and also supporting international education, the partnerships with quality assurance. And we are conducting this inter-university exchange project. And from the fiscal year 2012, the so-called GGJ, the Project for Promotion of Global Human Resources Development, the Go Global Japan had a project that has been conducted. 42 universities have been selected for this purpose to have more systematic development of the educational the regime to try to develop global talents and try to expand the outbound students to the outside. And then we have the top global university project which started and which would last for 10 years to have universities to globalize itself and to have higher reputation as university and to have international competitiveness. We have selected a total of 37 universities, top type 13 and the global traction type 24. In this slide, you will be able to see what is the region where the international students in Japan have originated. This is back in 2019. So right now, the numbers may have changed. But at the time, there were more than 310,000 international students studying in Japan from different places of the world, as you can see. And 93.5% are from Asia. More specifically, China, Nepal, Vietnam, Republic of Korea, and Taiwan. Those are the top ranking countries of origin. Now, in 1983, after the policy have been formulated to accept 100,000 international students to be accepted. In 2008, we have aimed until the year 2020 to target 300,000 international students to be received. But right after the 2011, the Great Eastern earthquake and tsunami, there has been a flat situation. But 1 year ago, or in 2019, the target number has been achieved. From now onwards, what I would like to explain would be the outbound students from Japan. These are the data from fiscal year 2018. You can see where those Japanese students have been destined to. The Asia is the top, but then North America, Europe, and Oceania. Next, this shows the chart of the chronological changes for the outbound Japanese students. With the 2013, the government has decided that by the year 2020, 120,000 should be the target number. So right before the pandemic, there has been an increase. So more than 120,000 has been achieved. And as you can see with the slide, this is the outline of the top global university project. Top global university project is not just simple exchange of students. With internationalization as the slogan, to try to develop on the whole of a university the changes and try to transform the university culture. For the top type, the universities should be able to be ranking into the world's top 100 universities. We have selected those universities who have the potential, so including the Tokyo University, 13 such universities have been selected. For the Global Traction University, 24 universities have been selected. We have had performance indicators, 30 of them. And as compared to before the project, there has been twofold increase for the foreign language courses, taught courses, and 1.5 times increase for the number of inbound international students. We have had steadfast results. According to the Times Higher Education, the journal, we have seen the scores that have increased for the ratio of international to domestic students, ratio of international to domestic staff, as well as international joint research has risen significantly. And I believe there has been a ripple effect of the project, the scene. And as the top global university the project, the THE have suggested that if there is investment under a clear strategy, Japanese universities should be able to continue securing top-level rankings in the coming years. And we understand that we have seen a good effect through the top global university project. And ever since the project has been started, where the International Exchange Network and International Research Network Alliance have been expanded after the Top Global University project that has been implemented. In accordance with the strategy of each university, international networking has been expanded. On the whole, not only it covers Asia, but Europe, North America, the Latin Americas, Africa, and Oceania. On a global-wide basis, network has been built. Next, let me now turn to Inter-University Exchange Project, which is also a project on par with the Top Global University project. We select each year the important country and the region for Japan, and to have university partnerships with quality assurance being accompanying to strategically promote student exchange with the program of quality assurance. 18,000 of Japanese students have been sent abroad, and 16,000 international students have been accepted. Up until now, Asia, United States, Russia, Latin America, Turkey, Europe, and Africa have been selected, and we have had global-wide exchanges. And the next fiscal year, India will be selected the third time, and also we will add United Kingdom and Australia. These three countries are important partner for Japan, sharing basic values. Not only that, these are the countries with a high level of research capability, which form the basis of international competitiveness. And through such a personal exchange to try to strengthen the relationship would be extremely important in building strategic international network and partnerships. And now, from these inter-university exchange project, let me introduce to you example of our exchange with Africa. The characteristic of this project is that of Taipei University, the startup type university from Africa, where they have only short history of university-to-university exchange, will be supported by Kyoto University, which is included in the Type B platform university. And now, through the information exchange at meetings, as well as in the steering group comprised of outside experts, we have had the strategic information being disseminated as a model case. University of the different African countries and the relevant institutions and groups, we have been able to build a good networking, and that is important. Now, it's been 12 years since the Global 30 program has been started, and the Top Global University project is in its 8th year. Under the vision of the different universities that have been selected, they have been able to strengthen their international response and also their global characteristics. And now, from 2 years ago, there has been pandemic of the COVID-19 expanded. So the environment surrounding international education have changed hugely. And MEXT, based upon our track record so far, we are trying to develop an environment where that the strength will be further developed and the weaknesses to be complemented. We have a whole of Japan system to try to further boost international competitiveness of the higher education in Japan. We have asked the member universities of Top Global University Project as well as Inter-University Exchange Project. And also for other universities, we have a whole of Japan, the regime have been created so that universities will be able to take the initiatives themselves, working with the relevant institutions to try to share the information and provide information, and also to conduct the research and initiatives to try to internationalize the universities. Already 120 universities, as well as technical colleges and other education-related groups have been participating. As we have launched this Japan Forum on Advancing the Internationalization of Universities. After the Top Global University project is ended, we will have 18 universities to become the leader universities in trying to further expand the project. Tohoku University is the chair university, and Tsukuba University is the vice chair university, and Ritsumeikan University serve as a secretariat. And we will try to share the information and also challenges and try to disseminate information. And MEXT will also participate as observer and try to respond to any needs for reforming the institution.
This forum will offer online international education platform called Japan Virtual Campus, the very first online platform. And also, this will be centered on 19 projects implemented by universities focused on recruiting, curriculum, and career. In addition, promoting organic collaborations between projects will develop new good practices and help promote strong and diverse internationalization of higher education across Japan. The University of Tokyo has been selected for building a strategic partnership network to strengthen international competitiveness, which I believe is the topic that relates to today's symposium as well. Strategic partnerships really form the core of the internationalization strategy of the University of Tokyo, and the university-wide participation is highly appreciated. Allow me to share with you some of the comments that we heard from the experts through the hearing process last year. We need to recognize that there is collaboration among top universities of Japan. We need to implement this in a steadfast fashion, and we make sure that there is no university that is excluded from this project. Also, we need to actively communicate the results of this project, and also the publication should place not just through the web page, but also through various forms of media. So these are the comments we received from some of the experts. Next, allow me to introduce some of the other projects in this forum for your benefit. Kansai University is now serving as the hub for coil-based education implementation. They collaborate with various university networks in and out of Japan, and they will spread coil-based teaching method as well as develop education models based on coil. There is very rapid interest. There's rapid increase in interest toward coil virtual exchange. And we should focus not just existing courses carried out by universities in and out of Japan. We should also carry out programs focused on SDGs in business, such as diversity and inclusion, and 21st century skills that are indicated on the bottom of the page, rather. We need to make sure these projects are developed as joint programs among various universities. And the Kansai University will be offering the syllabus and core resources, which will form the basis of this project, as well as offer online platform. Also, we would like to leverage the know-how for COIL professional development program for teachers that were developed by the Kansai University. We also carry out training programs for teachers as well going forward. Also for students, as well as students that complete the course, digital badge will be provided. So when standards are met, they can serve as a basis for credit recognition as well going forward. Next, at Toyo University, they served as the secretariat for UMAP for 5 years, from January of 2016. So we were able to leverage the know-how we learned as a result of that experience. And we can leverage the network involving some 640 different higher education institutions from 22 member countries that are part of UMAP. We're providing online-based collaborative education. High-quality online courses offered by UMAP participating countries are offered among participating universities. Also, there will be mutually non-collection of tuition, which means that we can offer a broad opportunity for students to learn. The fall semester will involve 33 courses for 12 universities from 8 different countries, including Japan, and 64 students took part. Also, in conjunction with Kansai University, co-leveraged joint fieldwork and student workshop will be carried out. This year, we will select the topics related to SDGs. We want to strengthen their understanding through prior learning in order to enable enhanced discussion abilities. We will be carrying out fieldwork in relation to Biwa Lake in Shiga Prefecture. We also carry out joint study programs with students that will take part virtually outside Japan. Also, we're providing online mock United Nations program focused on the SDG topic. And we'll have students from UMAP as well as various teachers dividing into committees so they can experience forum for discussion centered on students. Let me now talk about Japan Virtual Campus. Aiming to strengthen international competitiveness of universities responding to the spread of international online education, we want to offer foreign language courses to Japanese education as well as expand education to cover strength of Japan. We will offer diverse projects, courses rather. We'll offer free courses as well as paid courses. We'll also offer courses that involve recognition of certificate as well as the credits. We want to offer education that offers attractiveness of Japan. We also want to share excellent resources among universities. We want to contribute to strengthen management of the universities as well as strengthen international value of Japanese universities going forward. JV campus is formed by 2 boxes. This can enable participation of universities in and out of Japan. The box on the right-hand side indicates individual management by each member university. So you'll be able to select courses for free of charge or courses for fee, credit with programs with credit or without credits, and you can also distribute a wide number of contents that relate to brand recognition of the university. As JV Campus platform will be an influential factor, we'll be able to use functions relating to course management, contest management, and charge management. All the functions required for online education can be offered through this bot. And also, there are many universities that have their own online platform. They can also use this as they can use this portal site. This can contribute to improved accessibility of users as well. The left-hand side relates to strategic package box. The JV campus operator can provide courses comprised by universities in and out of Japan to universities as well as to various users. So here, the providers can offer online courses in line with the requirements. They'll be able to offer these projects or courses rather in conjunction with various universities in and out of Japan. When students, prior to students coming to Japan, they might want to learn Japanese, but then their universities may not offer online courses. Some courses may not offer BD English, such as general education language courses. There may be requirements for those courses. And also, there's a requirement related to mathematical data science and AI-related courses. These requirements became very clear as we conducted a questionnaire last summer. Also, as far as the requirements from the overseas participants are concerned, they were looking for educational package in leading years that transcend boundaries across different universities. They were looking for traditional culture, subculture of Japan, cool Japan, as well as educational package that can be combined with academic package as well. They want something that will draw out the interest pertaining to Japan. So we believe that this can be a strategy to improve motivation of the students to learn more about Japan by offering these different packages. And here in this slide, we want to secure learning opportunities for foreign exchange students overseas who are denied entry into Japan because of the pandemic. And this is called the Study in Japan Special Box. We ask for cooperation of universities throughout Japan, and we are offering Study in Japan Special Box that leverages the JV Campus program. We would like to thank the University of Tokyo for providing contents to this special box as well. Thank you for your cooperation. These contents involve introduction to Japanese culture and lifestyles, and also courses as well as mock courses, also including Japanese language studies, communication tool among students, and also they offer messages from Japanese students. And all these contents are provided via link to webs of universities that will provide this for free of charge. Already 61 universities and organizations have expressed their intent to cooperate in this initiative. The number of contents disclosed have already reached 319 so far. Until such time as full entry of exchange students can be resumed, I believe this project can serve as a preparatory learning opportunity for the students who want to study in Japan. Last but not least, let me talk about the rebuilding the global strategy for higher education. Under the government policy, restructuring the global strategy for higher education for a new everyday life will be conducted, and the provisional conclusion deadline is by the end of 2021. As far as the direction of such effort is concerned, realization of high-quality international liquidity, taking into account international exchange through remote and online education. This is still being considered as we speak. And also, the other direction is from focusing on the numbers in students to improving the quality of acceptance. This will also be another direction which we'll be pursuing. And also, specific examples entail improving the degree of assimilation into Japanese society, This will represent the example of focus on improved quality. And the other example will be strengthening the network of international students who are Japanophiles or familiar with Japan. This is also being considered as one example. Going forward, we believe that at a certain time, we hope that as soon as possible, we'll be able to discuss to you global strategy in the post-COVID stage. We hope that you will continue to take interest in this situation here in Japan. That is all for my presentation. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kishimoto from MEXT. Now, as for questions on the guest lectures, we would like to have question and answer sessions after the 2 guest lectures are over. Those of you who have a question, please write into the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. Now, we would like to have Professor Dr. Christian Schwarzenegger, Vice President of the University of Zurich, please. If you are ready, Professor Dr. Schwarzenegger, would you like to start, please?
Good. Yeah, welcome everybody, and thank you very much for this kind invitation to give a lecture on how to build a strategic partnership between universities. What you can see on my front page is actually the research network of Japan with the 10 most important research partner countries indicated by a strong line. And so you can see that between Japan and, of course, United States and UK and Germany, there are strong links, but there is also a strong link to Switzerland, where I come from. Now, let me start by showing you what I want to present to you. So first of all, I will recapitulate why internationalization is important for a university. Then I will show you some examples on how to drive internationalization at the university level. And I will pick our example of the strategic partnership with Kyoto University to show it in one specific case. And at the end, I would like to introduce you to a new kind of initiative that is taking place in Europe at the moment. So European university networks are now in construction and will be very crucial in the next 10 years. So the first topic, why is internationalization so important? I think everybody in your university and your institution has already done the research on that. Research and innovation are drivers of the economy. And in the modern world, universities are global competitors. We hire more than 50% of our faculty from abroad, and a very high number of our PhDs come from other countries. So all along the line down to the students, we get more and more international. Now, why is it so? Because internationalization brings in diversity, brings in fresh ideas. It helps us to learn new technology, new research methods more quickly, and it enhances learning from each other. And as I will show on the next slide, it is a vital element of a thriving economy. Additionally, we find ourselves in a situation where the planet is in danger. So we have global challenges. We need new energies. So these need also global answers and global cooperation. So this is why in recent times, over the last 20 years, in all advanced economies, the publication output of researchers has become more international and less domestic. This is shown here on the slides to the right. You can see the co-authored publications where at least one foreign researcher is participating, and it is based on the Nature Index. So this means it's basically natural sciences, medicine, and technology that is reflected here. And you can see in the UK, there are more international publications than domestic publications, a tendency that we can see in Switzerland as well as in many other countries. As a comparison, you see the Japanese numbers. Of course, because of the size of the Japanese research market, there is a difference in absolute numbers, Also in the United States, domestic production is still dominant because of the size of the country. Now, this is the result, what good research and innovation brings to a society. You see on the x-axis the purchasing power parity reflected. And so you can see that those countries who are innovative have a higher per capita purchasing power. So that means the wealth of a nation is increasing with innovation. And that's why universities play such a crucial role, because we are the engines for the innovation in a society. Next, of course, to the industry and to private research institutions. Of course, we did also our analysis in preparing for a strategic partnership, and we saw that Japan, the third largest economy in the world, is still very high up in the quality of research. So while the general percentage of global output has fallen down because of the increase of other nations like China, the percentage of high quality publications is roughly around 5% and is stable. This is a good indicator that the Japanese research economy is sustainable and living a high quality standard. Here you can see the development of national and domestic, but again, focusing on natural sciences based on the Nature Index. So it's just a few journals that produce high quality research papers. And you can see that there is a sharp increase in international dimensions here. And on the right side, you see from where the co-authors come from. So the United States are of great importance. China is in the increase. Germany and I would say Switzerland are roughly at the same level here, are also quite important in number of publications. So these are probably the most important partners for the Japanese scholars and researchers. Now let's go into the stages of internationalization. As many of you know the history of how this runs, normally researchers by definition are international. They thrive for information from wherever it comes from. So we have a bottom-up motivation to be international. But at the same time, we have a strong tendency of independent selection and of lack of cooperation between institutes, faculties, and other units at the university level. So the next step is to strike deals with foreign universities, traditional corporations that have minor research cooperation outcomes. But in the last 15 to 20 years, new developments have kicked in, like double degree programs, joint summer schools, and guest professorship programs to increase and intensify the contacts. And from there, the next step is to build a strategic partnership, of which I will show you some features later on. Also, and I have to say this is very important from my point of view, it is very helpful to be part of a university network. The University of Zurich, for example, is part of the League of European Research Universities, LIRU, which is a very strong organization with 26 member universities, mainly doing university politics at the European level, but also building a network of exchange of best practices from teaching to kind of open science, reaching also into specific fields like IT at the university level and so on. So we have a lot of exchange going on within this network. And Universitas 21, of which Waseda University is member, is an international network that helps us also very much. We have a very high-level summer school program together with these partners, and this increases the visibility and also the internationalization very much. The sixth level is then a deeper collaboration, thinking about joint campuses, or even kind of building an inter-university alliance which is the most recent development in Europe. And the University of Zurich is now, since a very short time, since 2 weeks, a member of Una Europa network, which is most probably the best in terms of research output among these European networks. Now, how did this all start? I think you must launch your internationalization with a big bang. And you need a lot of variables, a lot of measures to take place at the same time. Otherwise, it's very difficult to get it up and running. So the University of Zurich, although from its research output was always very good, was kind of a sleeping beauty in the shadow of the ETH next door. And in 2014, when I came into office and became Vice President International, we built an internationalization strategy and invested $1 million per year. So this is, of course, a tiny fraction of our general budget, but it consisted of a visible measure to increase internationalization. And I have listed the elements of this internationalization strategy. I will not read through all of it, but you can see that it is increase of incoming students, researchers, and so on. And also, of course, of enhancing the collaboration in the outside world, so strategic kind of alliances, partnerships, but also, and this is very crucial, internationalization at home. You need bilingual websites. You need to reflect the course program and possibly the whole course program of the university in 2 languages. You also need connectors into the faculties. That's also very important. So you need persons who feel responsible to carry the internationalization into the faculty and to feed back to the board and to the International Relations Office what is going on within the faculties and institutes. And of course, the visibility also can be improved through science diplomacy. You have to engage with the embassies of your country abroad. You should try to organize workshops where the university showcases its best research. So the visibility measures are also part of the internationalization strategy. Now you can see that this led into a new strategy, UZH Global Strategy 2030, and which also includes the membership in Una Europa that we applied for. And you can see also that the budget that we will invest into internationalization increases. Now, of course, I already talked a bit about potential challenges and oppositions. So as Japan, Switzerland is not English speaking, and we have language barriers within university. We have departments that are reluctant to transform their teaching into English because of a German, French, or Italian kind of scientific tradition, and sometimes also for good reason. So it is important to create course programs that are attractive to foreign students, and it is important to have researchers who are fluent in several languages to have a stable basis for the internationalization. I mentioned the website. So to run a university bilingually is costly because you have to translate a lot. And you have to be consistent in all the publications you do. And of course, you have to find the right balance between locally connected and internationally minded. So if you hire international professors and researchers, they will do research with data from Denmark or from the United States or from South America. And the local population and the politicians will ask you, what is this about? So you have to find and strike the right balance between locally connected, do something for the local community and local kind of economy, and be internationally minded. And of course, we have to struggle with certain environmental deficits. Switzerland is very costly to live in, and the housing market especially is difficult. So we have to take measures on university level to kind of enable the internationalization on that front as well. And another very important point, and I'm working with the Japanese funding agencies on that, you need, after a certain moment of bilateral or trilateral or multilateral cooperations, you need the funding agencies to kick in to support the promising research that you create through the internationalization on the university level. So there's a need for a good cooperation with the funding agencies. And of course, you have to set limits, you have to find priorities, and you have to analyze with whom you want to partner. So what are the benefits? And actually, University of Zurich is very happy about the strategic partnerships that we have with Berlin, with Geneva, with Kyoto University, and with University of Queensland in Australia. It's only one partnership that I don't want to mention that was a failure and that was stopped. But for the rest, we see a lot of positive development. But it's a long-term investment. It doesn't just show within a very short time framework. So it makes the university certainly more attractive. It has also launched a real spirit of internationalization within our organization. We were able to strengthen joint research and increase joint publication and research impacts. I will show the example later on. We were able also with a little investment to acquire additional third-party funding through these international corporations. And in certain cases, the partnership is a door opener for important regions or important institutions. For example, for science diplomacy, Geneva is a really important base. So Geneva University helps us here, or our partnership with Berlin is a good helper on EU level. And we can also, through the partnership, lobby and influence the national politics in science and teaching and education and innovation. So this is just a few of the examples. Let me show you a specific example. This is an extract from a pure Elsevier database, which shows you the impact of co-publications between Kyoto University and University of Zurich. So while the normal publications of Kyoto University have a 1.3 higher impact than the international standard, the co-publications with Zurich University scholars is 16.4 times more cited than the international average. And the same can be seen on views. So the articles published by joint teams are viewed many more times than the publications that were just coming from University of Zurich, for example. So we see the same effect also with the University of Queensland. The co-publications have a high visibility and a higher impact. And this is something that confirms our hypothesis that the strategic partnership enhances good research. So how did we approach the question of selecting partners? We selected certain regions. I can make you the example of Berlin. In Berlin, we know already from statistical analysis that we have the most co-publications all over with universities in Berlin. So that means the bottom-up connections are already very strong. And now we partner with Freie Universität and Humboldt University and also with Charité. So we have 3 strategic partnership agreements with Berlin to increase the number and to increase also the quality of the research that we do jointly. And it's running very well. Our seed funding attracts a lot of attention, and we are present in Berlin every year twice with events. So this has been highly successful. You can see on the second paragraph what are the measures that we do under the strategic partnership. Of course, we invest money, and you can go through that later on. There are joint teaching projects, but there is also a lot of joint seed funding in smaller scale and larger scale packages. But you have to know that the strategic partnership needs also investment, time investment of the leadership. So the president and myself have been traveling a lot. We have been participating in many meetings, in many visibility acts. And also you have to engage on a regular basis with the management of your partner institution. So president's meetings and regular exchange with the International Relations Office is crucial for success. And of course, the collaboration should not be limited only to research. It can reach out also to governance to learn institutionally from each other. Within the university, I can give you one example that we also did a survey among the researchers from all the faculties. What are the desired destinations for future strategic partnerships? So to find out where they would like us to build a new hub. And it was very surprising and interesting that they didn't want to have a hub in the United States, but rather in Oxford, Cambridge, or in the UK, because this is a second very strong link that we have from Switzerland. So the high potential for partnership between Switzerland and Japan is listed here. I'm only mentioning a few. We have similar university systems. We are not based on Ivy League private universities with large endowments. Instead, we rely a lot on public funding. There is a lot of pre-existing bottom-up collaboration. We have overlap in many research areas. Switzerland is very strong in engineering, in medicine, in also medical technology, pharmaceutical research, but also in things related to mobility and healthy aging, just to name a few. And we saw a lot of overlap in what is done in Japanese research universities. We have also a very good environment. This is shown in figure. So there is an environment of research-intensive companies and innovation. And I would say we have a very stable political system in both countries and a long-standing friendship which also contributes to a good basis. So this is what then University of Zurich has done over the years since 2014, and you can see it's of course, at the core is this partnership with Toyo University, which is actually very much focused on medicine, on science, and then in a second level, law and social sciences. But we also reached out to Toyo University and to the National Institute for Informatics and also the National Institute for Environmental Studies, where, for example, remote sensing has been a very important topic. You can see the research areas to the left, and to the right you can see that we regularly invite the Japanese ambassador in Switzerland to the University of Zurich. He's also depicted on the picture here. And we also have regular contacts with the embassy in Japan and now the newly opened consulate and Swissnex in Osaka. So this is of crucial importance to work out. So the selection criteria I've already mentioned are, on the one hand, bottom up. There must be a strong link already, otherwise it will not going to work top down. But top down can enhance the quality and the quantity of collaborations. And as I said, our experiences show that the hypothesis was right. So Berlin, Kyoto, Queensland, and Geneva have developed very well, and we want to bring it on the next stage. This is just the activities that have been conducted with the University of Kyoto. So you see that needs some preparation. We worked on symposia and workshops. And I have to mention that the Vice President Research accompanied me once to Kyoto, where we really held an in-depth analysis of where we have overlapping interests in medicine and science. And that led then to a very productive workshop between the two universities with scholars visiting Zurich in 2019. And from there, we can depart and build stronger ties. What we would like to do is we would like to increase the number of collaborations. It is an important question on how we can overcome the pandemic and use modern technology to do that. But we still believe in a strong internationalization, and that needs contact. And we would like to explore the possibility to build like more research lab in residence, an idea that President Minato brought up, and that has been tested in the SIRA, the Stem Cell Institute in Kyoto, together with our people from regenerative medicine. But we could go on that way and try this to work even more intensively. Let me finish with a kind of a perspective into the future. So, as I said, we are now part of UNO Europa, and I think the next years will see a transformation of the European universities. The alliances are normally consisting of 8 to 10 universities, and they really try to collaborate on all levels, so educational level, a research level. The final idea could be that they build together a campus. But of course, it could also be that teaching content will be produced together, and the students will send around among the campuses, so to increase the diversity and also the impact of the teaching. Same for the researchers. The interdisciplinarity could be increased also there. However, the practical work is quite difficult. To show you the numbers, so there are currently 41 alliances, and in the end, a maximum of 60 such alliances will be built over the next years. And I think Japan will play an important role in being a partner to one of these networks. By this, I am at the end of my lecture, of my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. And again, thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Schwarzenegger. Now we would like to have Q&A session. Those of you who have a question, if you could write into the Q&A box. Now, there's one question that we have received for Professor Dr. Schwarzenegger. University of Zurich has already strategic partnership with different universities from different countries. Now, in particular, having partnership with Japan, there are some limits for research. Are there any challenges when you have partnerships with Japan, the Japanese universities?
So let me start by saying the process to build a strategic partnership with a Japanese university takes a little longer, because I think we have to find where we are really matching in our interests. And it is, of course, also a little bit more limited on the student exchange level. But I think, as I have shown, there is a huge potential. And for example, in medicine, science, and economics, and also social sciences, there is a lot of bottom-up contact already. Now, what I want to mention here is, as a difficulty, we have been trying over the last years before the pandemic to reach out for the funding agencies, especially AMED, that is funding cooperation in medicine, to build up like a bilateral funding scheme between Switzerland and Japan. Because if we kickstart a cooperation with seed money that is lasting for maybe 1 year, or it lasts for 2 workshops, but then the teams have built ideas together, and then they need some funding, and the funding should be not too complicated. So until now, we still were in a separate channel. Both parties had to go through their own funding agency schemes to reach kind of like a positive result, and that is complicated. So I think, and this will also be the objective when we come back to Japan in October. President and myself will go to the STS forum, and we'll try again to stress that JST and AMED should launch bilateral kind of funding schemes that are easy to handle with a lead agency principle, for example, so that only one agency is reviewing the quality of the research proposal. So I think the funding is one of the important issues. And the second one is how can we, in times when we have to reduce our kind of CO2 output, how can we connect to Japan in an efficient way? I think personal contacts are important, but we could, of course, in between use the format of online workshops. So the right mix is probably the right answer.
ありがとうございます。シュワルツェネッガー先生、また
Thank you very much, Professor. There are several other questions we received from the audience. Now, at the University of Zurich, you are also faced with COVID-19. Under COVID-19, what are the outlook for new partnerships in the era of COVID-19? What are the process for new partnerships in the era of COVID-19? Thank you.
Of course, it slowed down the contacts and also the joint research. Last year, we wanted to be in Berlin for the science fair. We had about 20 events planned. Actually, we also were planning to be part of the Olympic Games in Tokyo. Switzerland has a Swiss house normally at Olympic sites. And we had 5 projects to present research together with Kyoto. For example, the collaboration between Professor Yamanaka and Professor Hock and Nitsch in stem cell research and regenerative medicine in Tokyo. And this was all not possible. So what we did, we try, as everybody, we try our best. The basic collaboration between researchers works also well online. Data can be transferred. Meetings can be held online, but we have been rather reduced in our activities of visibility and in continuing kind of like our talks. For example, I've been interrupted in my negotiations with Toyo University. We were separately going on, and also kind of the exchange of younger scholars that is very important also in a strategic partnership was reduced. So we really have to try to increase the number of contacts again. It's the same situation actually with Queensland. Queensland also is trying hard to reach out again because Australia is also in a geographically distant position, and we see the same development there. So yes, certainly we have been handicapped.
ありがとうございます。
Thank you very much. Now there is a question to MEXT as well. Now, from this fiscal year, the Japan Forum on Advancing the Internationalization of Universities, there have been many projects which have been adopted, as you have mentioned earlier. But majority would be student exchange programs, what the University of Tokyo has applied for, the Strategic Partnership Project. From the MEXT position, are there any expectations of such a project to be promoted from now onwards? The expectation on Japan Forum on Advancing the Internationalization of Universities, was that the point of question? Now, rather than student exchange program, but the University of Tokyo has selected strategic partnership project. So what about that? Do you have an expectation of that? As was already mentioned earlier, because of COVID-19, how can we enhance the status of Japan in terms of universities? As for the national project, we have been always promoting the Japanese universities, and we have different programs. How to utilize those programs? Because it is a central government's project, so we're asking you to promote these programs. But when we ask a mission to be promoted by the universities, it will be very difficult to go about. So that is the reason why we have launched Japan Forum on Advancing the Internationalization of Universities. There are 19 different projects being offered, and that, I believe, has been reflected into the other types of programs and projects. So as for the meeting today, I hope that we will be able to further broaden the perspective. Those universities who were not interested so far, some clues and hints could be provided so that the other universities will also become more interested in internationalization. In order to enhance the level of research and development, that is very important and critical for universities. That should be understood by even more number of universities, and we would like to further expand such opportunities so that your project should contribute to the enhancement of the other universities as well. Thank you. We will do our best.
A question to Professor Dr. Schwarzenegger. We have a question in the Q&A box, so this is for Professor Dr. Schwarzenegger. You talked about the European University Alliance. What are some of the difficulties as you try to achieve the European University Alliance? Can you share that with us? Thank you.
In the first place, Switzerland was not part of it because we are not part of the European Union. So universities from Switzerland were excluded, and they are only allowed since this year to join in. So there are already established European university networks. And with the support from the federal government, so Swiss National Science Foundation, now we could apply. And we are the first university. We are only the only one that made it in February to get an agreement from Una Europa, which is consisting of a strategic partner, Freie Universität Berlin, which supported us very much in this endeavor. And then consists of many others like Bologna and University Complutense and Sorbonne. So it's really a strong network. We wanted to be part of it. The crucial point is, again, and you see it from my numbers, you have to invest. So to do this European university network, you really have to invest into joint teaching formats. Maybe even we have to invest into a facility that is not located in Switzerland, which is something we didn't do before. So it is really a commitment into a more intense collaboration. I think you can see it like the alliances in the airline industry. At a certain moment, the airlines were separate, and then they started to align to do kind of like a multiplier program or so, or customer binding measures. And I think that's the same is happening now in the university world in Europe. And I think from there, we will be a very strong partner then also to the Japanese universities.
Thank you very much. Next question. There are so many questions being asked, and thank you for the questions. This is also a question to Dr. Schwarzenegger. Now, the incursion into Ukraine is happening right now. Of course, we are indeed very deeply saddened by this. Now, university in Europe, what kind of humanitarian assistance are you thinking of? Not just the current crisis, but when there are natural disasters that could happen, what kind of assistance could be thought and be conducted by universities in Europe?
So on the European level and also within our networks, we prepare for refugees, so scholars at risk, so researchers, professors, but also students. We have put aside a special budget to help them, and we are part of the distribution of refugees that are coming in from the Ukraine. Of course, we do not actively participate in research with Russian partners at the moment, but we do not punish or sanction Russian researchers who are currently in Switzerland. So we strike like a neutral path in this respect. But of course, we try to do our best to support the Ukraine. Switzerland is following the whole range of sanctions that the European Commission has decided to do. And we will certainly do some information talks at university to inform the society about the consequences of the sanctions. So, for example, what risks do banks or financial intermediaries run into if they deal with Russian oligarchs or with Russian interests? So this is what the university is currently doing: information, support for refugees, and participating in international support. But of course, we are all shocked, like everybody, that in modern times such a war can just break out so easily.
ありがとうございます。時間になりましたので。
Thank you. As it is time, this will be the final question. This is also to Professor Dr. Schwarzenegger. Last question to you. In the light of the situation in Ukraine, has that affected your strategic partnership project? Has the situation in Ukraine affected your strategic partnership program in the University of Zurich? Thank you.
No, it didn't have any impact on our strategy because our links to Russia are at a low flame. So we didn't have a project to intensify our collaborations with Russian partners. And we also, in our global global responsibility activities, we are rather focusing on Africa and not so much on, for example, Ukraine or other Central Asian countries. So we are not directly affected in our internationalization strategy by that. But it will, I think the focus will change again. So security policy and safety issues, and also the whole question of internet safety, cyber security will pop up and have a much more important role in the future. And I think we will not gonna get out of this period in a short term. So we will have a geopolitical situation that is rather going into a dimension of the East-West conflict that we had in the past. So this is what I notice, and this will certainly shape our landscape.
ありがとうございます。
Thank you very much.
Add a final remark because I will be with you another 30 minutes, but then I have to go back to the board meeting. But if you have any supplementary questions, I'm very willing to answer, and you get the information from the organizers. Thank you very much.
ありがとうございます。はい。どうもありがとうございます。たくさん。
Thank you very much. There are many questions who have been received. We were not able to address all of them, but I would like to apologize and ask your kind understanding. Now we would like to take a break, and we will resume at 20 minutes after 6 o'clock Japan time, 6:20 Japan time. So if you can keep your connection, and please come back after 7 minutes. See you then. Thank you.
はい。それでは時間となりましたので再開。
Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to resume our session. Now we would like to have those universities who are participating in the building a network of strategic partnerships to strengthen international competitiveness in Japanese Pacific project. After all the presentations are over, we would like to have question and answer session. And please write into the Q&A box. And you will be able to write in your questions even during the presentation as well. And now, Special Advisor to the President of the University of Tokyo, Professor Watanabe, who will be speaking on promotion of international research and education collaboration through strategic partnerships. Please. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. My name is Watanabe Satoshi from University of Tokyo. As has been kindly introduced, under the pandemic, how can we increase research and education collaboration? Now, at the University of Tokyo, the strategic partnerships are being pursued. I would like to give you some of the outlining results and also activities under the pandemic. Now, as Professor Hayashi has mentioned at the outset, University of Tokyo, there have been trying to create a global campus model for the top global university project, which has been adopted by the MEXT. And together with the comprehensive reform of education system, we have strategic partnerships. This is an important pillar for our education and research. Now, more specifically, for the strategic partnerships, we have had 3 phases. In the first phase, from 2014 to 2016, strategic partnerships have been established, and we have been identifying and connecting projects of different and diverse departments and trying to bring them together in convergence. Under phase 2, we have looked at the 19. There has been 26 overseas universities in phase 1. We have narrowed down to 19 overseas universities to expand network by involving industry and government, to have existing projects on interdisciplinary and university-wide exchanges. Now, from this fiscal year, we are coming into phase 3. So based upon the track record up until now, we have a total of 16 overseas universities with whom we have relationships. Now, as you can see with the slide, the strategic partnership universities are being listed here. There are total 9 primary strategic partnership universities on the map. And apart from them, we have 7 prospective strategic partners. Now, amongst these universities, there are several universities being grouped together. For example, in groups of Stockholm, we have Stockholm University, Swedish, the Royal Technical Institute, and Karolinska Universities. The 3 are in the same group. Now, at the University of Tokyo, as Professor Hayashi has already mentioned in her opening address, we are going for even closer relationship, and also mutually beneficial and expansive and special relationships are to be built. And this is the definition of strategic partnership. And having these relationships, we are assessing our activities with the counterpart universities and allocating budgets. More specifically, on university-wide cooperation, what are the mutual benefits and what are the joint research and how active student exchanges are, and the number of departments involved, as well as interdisciplinary research, how many of them, and also are there any expansion plan for such research activities? And now, up until now, we have gone through strategic partnership activities, and we have found that there are many good results. First and foremost, the students and faculty, the mobility have increased. And furthermore, a number of departments involved are also on the rise. And apart from these, with the counterparty universities and our universities jointly provide budget to have joint research fund to try to promote joint research. And we also have interdisciplinary workshops being actively pursued. For example, with Seoul National University, we have energy being chosen as a topic, not just technologies, but we also look into laws and policies as well. And these are the kind of workshops we are holding. Apart from these, we have a joint research and education program, which is also very active. For example, with Grupo Stockholm, we have student exchange program and also faculty development workshops. And both for the engineering department as well as the education department, different departments are involved. And with the ETHZ, we have a student program on a very practical basis, and also international joint research as well. With Beijing University, we have a joint research program called East Asian Academy for New Liberal Arts. The program itself is quite unique, and Daikin is providing funding for us. That's to say, we have external funding being acquired, a good success story. Apart from that, there's a workshop with Australian National University. The NPOs, the governments, and industries are working. And also with Vietnam National University's Hanoi School, there has been student experiment project being launched. And the Japan Analytical Instruments Manufacturers Association have been providing the necessary laboratory equipments as well. And also, there is another salient characteristic, which is the training of teaching assistants, and have national universities' doctoral students have been invited, and also University of Tokyo students have been sent over there. So we have international exchange of students as well as the faculty as well. So we see a similar situation in different universities because of pandemic, to try to send our staff or students and faculty to the other university, or to receive students or faculty from other universities. We had to stop such activity. But even so, in our strategic partnership program, we have been very actively pursuing virtual online programs. And we have joint conferences as well as joint symposia being regularly held. And we are doing it on online virtual basis. Because of the interest of time, I will not go into details, but there are different programs that are being done virtually. And in terms of strategic partnership, we have been able to already build very close partnerships and relationships. And as we go virtual, the debate has been very smoothly done, even though on online basis. And that is because we have been able to already build the foundation through our past activities. Now, one thing which is of a salient nature is what I would like to introduce to you, which is a joint event with Tokyo College. Tokyo College is where the Tokyo universities and overseas researchers and research institutes interface is being served by Tokyo College. This is a unique organization. We are trying to share the intellectual or the ideas and perspectives. So we would like to send our message and try to provide information overseas. So we have strategic partnership with Tokyo College, and co-hosted with Tokyo College the so-called dialogue series. When we say dialogue, we have President Fujii of University of Tokyo, who has been newly appointed last year, and has U-Tokyo Compass, which is the policy of university, which was announced in September last year. And in this compass, dialogue has been emphasized. And in the different activities that University of Tokyo is involved, we will always try to pursue and promote dialogue. And with that in mind, the dialogue series have been designed and planned. This dialogue series as a common topic, post-COVID society, they're being selected as the theme. We have Princeton University, Australian National University, Peking University, and University of Cambridge. With all these partners, from different perspectives, we are trying to pursue a dialogue. So far, there has been many dialogue events have been conducted, and several of them have been recorded, and you are able to view these recordings. And if you're interested, please access this URL. Now, with the other partner universities, we would like to plan different events. So I hope that you will be able to view those events as well going forward. So we had a virtual educational program that had been launched because of the COVID-19. And with this new online educational programs, strategic partnership and counterpart universities, our relationship with those universities are quite effective in trying to pursue such program. For example, with Tsinghua University, we have a major scale student exchange event being held. And it was faculty who have originally come up with the idea. But after the outline has been decided, students themselves have taken on the initiative to organize the event. A total of 60 students from each university have had discussion, and what they have discussed have been announced at the plenary meeting. For example, situation of cashless payment or the extracurricular activities for both universities are interested in these topics. So these topics have been selected. From the University of Tokyo, we were concerned that we may not be able to have so many students participating. But for the first conference in March last year, in just a few days, there have been more than 120 applications. In October, at the meeting, there were more than 200 applications. In terms of faculty, they were surprised with the level of keen interest amongst the students. And the event was about 2 hours, so it was a very short time. And also the language for the discussion was not determined or set. So it was easy for any students who have not had that much of experience with overseas students were able to easily access. And many of the students who have participated have had a good evaluation. Now, with the Royal Institute of Technology in Sweden, we have a more intensive program being launched. And this program is looking at the undergraduates, those students who will be able to experience a joint the exercise with overseas students. And for such specialty areas, and because there are not much difference between the students. So how to apply such technology in actual society, they are trying to discuss and consider these possibilities. And also, the faculty were not able, the load placed on the faculty was not that heavy. And for the basic course of fluid mechanics, the final exam questions were to be thought of and designed, and how to apply to the actual society. Each team were to consider and to have discussion and debate and have a presentation utilizing poster. With the Australian National University, let me give you another example. There is an emphasis placed on student exchange on the ground, and we had such joint programs, but because of pandemic, we were able to implement such program. So on an online basis, we have thought of a substitute program. More specifically, earthquake, a tsunami, and other natural disasters, what may be the impact on economy as well as technology? Those were the topics where 2 university students were to learn and study and also discuss. And we have live streaming with Tohoku area so that the situation on the ground were also being able to be seen and heard by the participants. Now, trying to conclude. So, the University of Tokyo has pursued strategic partnerships with the different universities, and with the partner universities, I believe the program was quite effective in tightening the ties. We have expanded the number of fields where collaborations take place, and we have enhanced the mobility of faculty. We have facilitated interdisciplinary activities, received more support and collaboration from the outside. And unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we were not able to have exchange activities as is. But existing relations can be kept through online symposia and workshops. And we have also introduced new education program. And the past relationship has helped greatly. And as for next stage, we would like to further promote collaboration in research and education. And we will have hybrid version, both online and in-person activities to be combined together. And that's all from me. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Professor Watanabe, for your presentation. We now would like to go on to presentation by the Vice President for International Strategy at Kyoto University, Professor Yasuyuki Kono, to talk about promotion of international research and education collaboration through strategic partnerships. Professor Kono, if you're ready, please start your presentation. Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kono from Kyoto University. Thank you for your kind introduction. I would like to talk about Strategic Partnership Program in Kyoto University. Well, thank you. Good. We have this slide on screen. As time is limited, I will focus on just 3 points on this page. What is Strategic Partnership at Kyoto University? What are our expectations? The second point, how do we operate its strategic partnerships? And the third point is, what are notable activities that are conducted through strategic partnerships? What are some of the best practices? So I will focus just on these 3 points, if I may. So what are Kyoto University strategic partnerships? What are expectations? How do we position strategic partnerships? The prerequisites for strategic partnerships are mutual trust and agreement at presidential level and executive. We want to pursue cross-sectoral exchange at universities among top-level universities. And so we also want to promote mobility among researchers. So presidential agree on this exchange, and we pursue strategic partnerships at Kyoto University. These are the definitions. The points are as follows. First, we need mutual trust and agreement at presidential and executive level. The second is active and sustained research exchanges already in place in several fields and departments. That's the second important point. Third, the prospective partner is an excellent world-class university. These are the 3 prerequisites for our strategic partnership program. So based on this policy, since 2019, we signed with the University of Bordeaux, University of Vienna, and in 2020, we also signed an agreement with the University of Zurich, where Professor Schwarzenegger is located, and also Hamburg University, and also Taiwan University. We signed strategic partnership agreements with those universities. So we have partnerships with these 5 universities at the moment, and our strategic partnerships involve education and exchange with these 5 universities. So why is it that we chose these 5 universities? How did we conclude strategic partnerships with the aforementioned 5 universities? Allow me to explain. At Kyoto University, we have symposiums entitled Kyoto University International Symposium since 2000. We have held 61 symposiums since 2000. Now, in these universities, in these symposiums, we would have bilateral symposiums with various overseas universities in certain cases. So through such symposium, in various areas, we would deepen research exchanges. But not only that, at the executive level, we also fostered trust at the leadership level. Through these symposiums, we also have workshops that are focused on certain topics. And as a result of these workshops, we selected the aforementioned 5 universities. Now, of course, we envision the possibility of expanding the number of strategic partnerships, but we wanted to pursue an effective collaboration. We carefully chose our partners based on this selection process. So as such, we selected strategic partnerships. This goes beyond the conventional exchange between universities. It is sustainable. We want to promote sustainable focus into interdisciplinary collaboration. We also want to enhance and develop world-leading advanced research so that we can enhance our international competitiveness. So these are the purposes behind the Strategic Partnership Program. So therefore, the expected outcomes are as follows. Develop bilateral collaboration into multilateral collaboration, facilitate comprehensive international exchange, including student mobility, and also increase opportunities to acquire external funding so that we can foster further research. So these are our expectations. Then next, allow me to talk about the contents and activities behind the strategic partnerships. How do we operate? Let me talk about how we operate these partnerships. So this is the operational structure at our university. With regard to strategic partners, we create a team. We create a team for these partnerships. These teams are formed by university research administrators, overseas center, and also and the administrative office as well. So these teams coordinate with the counterparts, and coordinate the strategic partnership activities at the university level. Also internally, we also receive applications among faculty members to take part in these research teams. These are postdocs, students. Postdocs and students are also involved in this research team, and they're engaged in research exchange with the counterpart universities. So these channels are established at the faculty level as well as at the university level. It's a multi-layered structure in terms of creating this partnership. Next, let me talk about the 3-year cycle of this partnership. We have a 3-year validity for the strategic partnership agreement. We want to be effective in the outcome. This might be short. However, the administration is very much involved in the exchange relationship, and we believe that this is appropriate as the university leadership is very much aware of the contents. And 3 years later, we will consider whether or not the project should be extended. And also, to support joint research, we also carry joint funding to support collaborative activities in research. I'll talk about this in greater depth later on. So with regard to education and research activities, at every year end, we provide report, and they're shared at the leadership level. And once every 3 years, we have International Symposium where we share the results of our research and joint activities. Let me now talk about the joint funding program. This is very important that we share the budget between the 2 universities. In order to enhance existing relationship, we also explore new areas for collaboration. And also, we want to make sure that the collaboration is sustainable. So therefore, we also involve young researchers who can be involved in the program going forward. Also, through online process, we have joint endeavors as well, and that is also being considered as well. With regard to joint funding program, this also utilizes the administrative level between the 2 universities. And as far as the application is concerned, the faculty members will file joint proposals when seeking budget. This will be examined at the cross-sectoral committee. And at this committee, they will talk about the expectations for the research. This will enhance the mutual understanding through the deliberation at the committee. The joint funding program really will enhance the mutual trust between the administrations of the 2 universities. Now, this shows the example of the joint funding programs involving University of Hamburg for this fiscal year. 6 projects have been accepted. All these really seek to enhance the existing program. But we also have programs that are focused on young researchers who will be responsible for future activities. So as you can see, we have very well-balanced joint funding programs, as you can see from this chart. Last but not least, let me talk about the notable activities that are conducted through the strategic partnership. And also, what are some of the good practices and also benefits from the strategic partnerships? Let me explain at the very end of this presentation. Let me explain the collaboration between University of Bordeaux. This interdisciplinary research collaboration at University of Bordeaux, energy sciences, medicine, and African area studies were involved. These 3 areas participated in the program. We had Kyoto Bordeaux International Symposiums in the past, and through such a symposium, we decided to focus on African area studies in the English language speaking. Toyo University would focus on West African and would focus on Francophone area because they have the strength. Also, Toyo University will also work with Science Po and have produced various excellent potential government officers. Africa is expected to have population growth of 2% going forward. So therefore, medicine, health, and energy are humanitarian challenges for the 21st century in the African region. So that being the case, between university and Toyo University, we created a triangulation involving universities from Africa. We want, based on the culture and in Africa, we just focus on health. We wanted to focus on health in Africa as a whole. Fortunately, as a result of, we are part of the Inter-University Exchange Project, and MEXT has provided support. This is also introduced. The Toyo University has also received support from IPORA. So funding was provided by these organizations. So as a result, we believe they will be able to see evolution of this international research collaboration at great depth going forward. Next, let me talk about global challenge of correction. Let me talk about the collaboration with the University of Zurich. IT has advanced significantly. The singularity for AI has surpassed the knowledge of persons, has already become a reality. So therefore, we need fundamental review of the current legal system to accommodate the development of ICT. So with this strategic partnership, we wanted to carry out cross-sectoral and cross-regional research. To do this, URA played a major role and approached the faculty that were involved in this research, and they hosted a symposium, an online workshop entitled Advanced Technology in Law. And this was a trigger whereby not only faculties of the universities, but a young research network was created. Going forward, we believe that we can further expect research into this field in the future. So at the research level and the faculty level, we have two-layered channel really that functioned well in this particular case. Next example involves University of Vienna. Now, the message level relationship helped to spur this collaboration. With this university, we had various joint research up until now. And also, there was an interview between the presidents of the universities, and this is a focus on data science and humanities. They decided to pursue joint research in these two areas through their dialogue. So with that, URA played a central role, and research between the two universities were met. And a workshop involving various staff was carried out. And as a result, university library staff were also called upon, and they were involved in the research of data management as a result. And also we had exchange between the university library staff, between the two universities as well, because of this symposium. With regard to student exchange, we believe the strategic partnership has played a function in student-level exchange. We have many very short-term programs online. We had fee waiver slots on both sides, which really spurred this exchange. So as a result, after the stabilization of COVID, we believe that we'll be able to have exchange of credits going forward. And also, double degree program. We already carried out this with University of Bordeaux as well. So this is in conjunction with the establishing greater ties with at the faculty level as well. So these are some of the learnings and takeaways from the past several years. Strategic partnerships can promote multidimensional collaboration throughout the university, including joint research with prominent researchers, exchange activities by outstanding students, and organizational collaboration. So then, in the case, top-down and bottom-up approach need to be combined in an effective manner. This is very important. And also, to facilitate also in communication and matching, URA office and office centers play a crucial role. So that is all for my presentation. These are the strategic partnership programs at Kyoto University. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Professor Kono. You have given us many examples and case studies. Thank you. It was quite interesting. Now, from Osaka University, Center for Global Initiatives, so we have Professor Saori Obayashi, who will be speaking on co-creation with global knowledge partners on societal challenges, a case of Osaka University. Thank you very much for the kind introduction. My name is Obayashi from Osaka University. Now, from my part, I would like to introduce to you how Osaka University have created a global knowledge partnership. So first of all, I would like to give you an overview of the strategic partnership initiatives, the international exchange at our university, very briefly. And then, in establishing the strategic partnerships, what are the steps that we have gone through, and then give you the recent collaborations, and then summarize. Now, these are the statistical data on international exchange at Osaka University. And we have 140 a total of universities under inter-university academic exchange programs and 652 total in interfaculty academic exchange agreements. We have received international researchers before the pandemic. We had 1,172 inbound as of 2020, and for international students inbound as of 2020, 2,611, 85% are from Asia. And also, students being sent abroad for study. This is for fiscal year 2019, 1,493 for Asia, Europe, North America, and Oceania. So there have been many partners that we have concluded agreement with. And what kind of strategic partnership to be created based upon a different objective. For 4 different regions, Osaka University have offices in European Center for Academic Initiative at the University of Groningen. And in Bangkok, we have ASEAN Center for Academic Initiatives, and we also have East Asian Center for Academic Initiatives in China, and we also North American Center for Academic Initiatives in the United States. Utilizing those overseas offices, we are trying to develop strategic partnerships. For 2021 as of January with University of Groningen in Netherlands and also University College London in United Kingdom and with Shanghai Jiao Tong University in China and also University of British Columbia in Canada and also University of California, Davis in the United States. And in the ASEAN campuses, this is another program that we conduct. In the ASEAN, more specifically Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, and Brunei, for these 4 universities and research institutions. So we are working in collaboration and have on the ground a high quality the growth and also to have joint research into the human resources. Now, I would like to explain about global knowledge partnerships. Global knowledge partnerships, we share the vision with the partner universities and have common goals and objectives being set forward. And common objective would be cross-domain joint research, trying to bring solutions to global challenges. We would like to make contribution to those social challenges worldwide. Urban design, a smart city, aging society, climate change, and also education, as well as sustainable cities, and also biotechnology and AI. We set these topics and then have on online basis research teams involved for joint research. And with joint research at the centerpiece, we are trying to develop the necessary human resources. And the activities of strategic partnership initiatives are based upon university's vision. Osaka University in 2016, we have put forward Vision 2021. Openness is the keyword. We have 5 pillars in trying to raise our competitive edge. Open education, open research, open community, open governance, and open innovation. And in the strategic partnership projects, will be conducive to the open community slogan. And the goal of open community would be with the various stakeholders, including universities, we would like to work closely so that we will be able to contribute in bringing solutions to the social issues and global issues. And we would like to promote social development as well. At Osaka University, from 2016 onwards, we have been making efforts to build strategic partnerships. And at the time, in Europe, strategic partnerships were often being utilized. So more specifically, what were the activities? We have made a research, and we have found that there were two reports more specifically. One is called EAIE Barometer, which is a report as issued by the European Association for International Education, and trying to make research into international strategic partnerships in the 3 years. And then strategic partnerships have been quite active. That was what was found. And internationalizations have become a great challenge. And how to improve on strategic partnerships. Various findings that were put into this report. Another report is from the United States Institute of International Education and the German research institutes have worked together for strategic partnership. Has been conducted by various universities, and those universities were surveyed. What kind of goals and objectives were there? What kind of activities that were actually pursued, and what were the challenges? These were being surveyed and put into the report. Now, in this report, strategic partnership, the findings that were put forward, and you can see the definition which was proposed by this report. A strategic partnership is a formal alliance between two or more higher education institutions developed through an intentional process whereby the partners share resources and leverage complementary strengths to achieve defined common objectives. So that is a definition as suggested in this report. So in addition to these reports, for European universities, what kind of activities are they engaged in? We have made a survey. And making reference of our survey results in creating our own strategic partnerships, in 2016, we have established the preparation of that. How the Osaka University has been engaged in partnership with the other universities. How many mobility programs are there, and in what academic fields and areas where the partnerships are being concluded, and the number of co-authored publications were also been surveyed, and what kind of external research fundings have been made available. And for university by university, we have been able to issue the exchange programs, and the co-partners would be where such activities are quite being pursued in a large number. For these partnerships, who are the key researchers, and also the academic fields where exchanges and collaboration are existing, we would have had to seek possibilities outside of those areas. And the compatibility of the academic profiles with the partner university, and also of the country where the university is located, what are the relevant policies, and also both internal and external funding opportunities are also being sought after. And we have considered who would be the potential core partners. And those potential core partners, universities, and the faculty who already have had very close relationship. We have consulted with those faculty in seeking possibility of achieving strategic partnerships. And as Kyoto University representative has already introduced to us, in building strategic partnership, we need to have already the mechanism and regime put in place squarely inside the university. And we had to have come up with this mechanism, which would be quite conducive for the strategic partnerships, having medium to long-term objectives and goals to be set forward. And that needs to be done properly, and then have agreement with the partner university, and we need to have commitment by the leadership. And we will have faculty and staffs, and the center who will be responsible will work inside the university, and we will support the faculty who will be involved in the actual exchange and collaboration. Now, at Osaka University, for the strategic partnerships, we have created a roadmap for fostering the partnership. We think of the 3 different phases, and for phase 1, with the existing areas of collaboration need to be strengthened, we should also expand into new areas of collaboration. And at the next phase, and with collaboration in partnerships, need to be further developed, and we should have exchange of students. And as human resources development, we were able to see the good program being achieved. And phase 3, all the strategic partnerships have had the great results, which should be fed back into the society so that we can make a contribution to the development of the society. So these are the photos of our recent past programs of collaborations. And as I have mentioned earlier, the existing collaboration in the different fields have been reinforced, and we have conducted joint symposia, and also to have students also be involved in seminars and workshops so that we can have exchange of students. And for last fiscal year, Osaka University celebrated the 100 years since the founding. And unfortunately, on the online basis, we have had a partner summit with the foreign languages university. What are the roles of university in the local community? We have had good advice and comments. So amongst the partners, the joint declaration that was made in the partner summit, and we would like to reflect into our future programs. And in the 6 months, the students were able to share their experiences under the pandemic. And as an output, as you can see, for the past 3 years, we have had 40 research projects, and 8 joint laboratories were set up, and we have had 441 the researchers being dispatched, and 63 co-authored papers. And in building strategic partnership, these would be the key factors. I have given 6 factors. Have clear objectives and goals to be set up, and we have had commitment at the leadership level. And also governance and management to be properly had to be created for the project, and also the researchers. Based upon their needs and interest, we need to have feasible activities. And we need to provide incentives and support for faculty. And we also need to see compatibility and equal partnership between the partner institutions. So that's all from my part. Thank you very much for the kind attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Obayashi. You talked about the global trend pertaining to strategic partnership. Thank you for your kind presentation.
続きまして、
Next, we'd like to go on to a presentation by Ehime University from Asia Africa Center Institute for International Relations at Ehime University, Professor Osamu Kobayashi and Professor Motoko Shimagami. Can you talk about the bidirectional education and research program for sustainability by the consortium of 6 universities in Japan and Indonesia? The floor is yours. Thank you. My name is Kobayashi with Ehime University. I'll be joined by my colleague, Professor Shimagami. We will focus on the Strategic Partnership Program at Ehime University. It will focus on good practices. That will be the focus of our presentation today. When we take a look at the schedule, I noticed that Ehime University is the only university that does not include strategic partnership in the title of the presentation. So I was somewhat nervous about that, but we are aware that we're talking about strategic partnership agreements. Osaka University mentioned that they're in the midst of coming up with a new definition. At Ehime University as well, when it comes to strategic partnership, we have 2 or 3 initiatives that are equivalent to that. And we have 4 overseas centers as well implementing such projects. So we'd like to talk about multi-layered structure that we have in place. Introduce some programs that are being carried out at the multi-layered within our university. So let's start with this slide. I'd like to talk about the curriculum entitled SUIJI, S-U-I-J-I for short, SUIJI. The 6 university project involving Indonesia and Japan. It's not SUIJI in Japanese, meaning washing. It's a 6 university coordinate consortium formed by Japanese and Indonesian universities. And we're involved in multi-layered education and research programs based on the SUIJI initiative. So it might seem very straightforward, but then originally they started out at the MA University. We have a comprehensive agricultural studies. And we had exchange students from Indonesia who graduated from the program, and they left for their home country. And they become executives of their own university. And when they became management of the university, they wanted to be the bridge between the Japanese and Indonesian universities. So this is a program that really hailed from the request for the alumni of our university. This is very unique. It's based on personal aspirations, which led to organizational structure and organizational exchange. So that is one feature of the SUIJI program, I believe. This really bore fruit in 2016. Already, at the starting point, the leaders and the presidents of the 6 universities were involved in this consortium. And since then, we were adopted as one of the part of the inter-university exchange project. So every year, the presidents of the 6 universities would sit at the same table. And in 2016, we had the final year. Right now, 6 universities are now carrying out short-term programs based on a different funding right now. No, we were ranked A. The top rank is S, so maybe we cannot boast about this rank. But as a local university, and considering that this is a program where 6 universities are in sync, I think this is quite good. It says JDP in the slide, but the title was changed to JP from JDP. So we were able to set the definition of JDP. So later on, we changed the name to joint programs, but we still have a succeeding program. So as was mentioned by Professor Schwarzenegger in his presentation, and there were some questions from the floor as well regarding his presentation. But what is our aim? It's not language studies. It's not about training a large number of researchers. It actually involved multi-layered programs involving administration to the students. And we would also focus on a certain amount of lots of students. We want to make sure that we have sufficient exchange between limited number of students. So we want to make sure that we train servant leaders with global mindset who can contribute to sustainability of our future citizens, who will contribute to the sustainability for our future society, mainly by supporting rural communities which will play an important role in primary industries. And of course, we have to make sure that they can contribute to the creation of peaceful sustainability. And we want to be on the ground. We want to focus on agriculture and forestry. We want to focus on primary industry, which are really on the ground. This, I believe, is the starting point of our program. We want to make sure that we develop human resources based on this mentality. So we really want to make sure that it's nothing flashy, but it has to be something firmly rooted in the ground. So I talked about bidirectional. This is Ehime University, Ehime Kokawa, and Indonesia. We have exchanges between these 6 universities. Between Ehime University, Kagawa University, and Kochi University, we also have programs with University Gajah and also Bogor Agricultural University and Hasanadi University. And Suichi programs are now being operated by Suichi office in these 6 universities. And every year we held multiple meetings, and we still have succeeding programs that are underway. As far as the numbers are concerned, it's indicated on this chart. On the top, you'll find the department level. And we accept and dispatch roughly 300, as you can see, at the department level. Yeah, then below we have master level and also doctorate level program. The numbers are provided. As you go down to the doctorate level, the numbers become smaller. And although we talk about bidirectional, we have more people coming into Japan from Indonesia, but the outbound from Japan into Indonesia is becoming smaller as we go ahead to the doctorate level. And I suppose that represents a challenge of sorts. But then this program really started out based on this particular objective. We want to make sure that we break through the inward-looking orientation of the Japanese students. So this is something that we need to work on. We really need to break through this mentality going forward. Now this is the master's and doctoral program. We share the list of tutors, and also we have a curriculum that is dedicated to this particular program. And the credits are then taken back to the home. And these credits are recognized at home university. And this is counted. And also diplomas will be set up by the Suiji. Ordinarily, we were considering joint degree program. We wanted to consider JDP in the beginning. However, we decided to pursue a joint level program, which is 1 rank below. But this is still an ongoing program. Let me show you some pictures from those programs. By the time the program is completed, you find that we have a very heartwarming. You see, farewells are being carried out in a very warm manner, and people cry when they say goodbye. I would like to invite my colleague, Dr. Shimagami, to talk about the faculty department level activities. Thank you very much. This is Shimagami is my name. Thank you. Let's talk about the bachelor level program. As I mentioned earlier, 100 students are exchanged between Japan and Indonesia every year. So we have the so-called service learning program for the students. We want to make sure that this is a training program that will facilitate community service. In Indonesia, we have the community service program in Indonesia. It's also KKN for short. This is an independent program that has been in place for 50 years since their independence back in 1945. So this is a program that has a lot of tradition and history. So we want to make sure that we leverage the tradition and promote this program. Originally, we wanted to bring a scientific community to the community. That was the service component. And the students will be able to learn from the local community. But that is not all. As the program went ahead, we learned that students were able to learn about the local community. And they also received services. So we found that this was a bidirectional service learning. That is what we found as a result of the actual trial. So let's go on to the next slide. Now here you will find the participants and the sites. In 2013, we began this in full scale. And in 2016, we were able to use the funding provided by the Inter-University Exchange Project. So every year, 100 to 150 students would take part in these projects in the 6 universities. And when this was conducted in Japan, domestic learning service was carried out for a 3-week period in summer. And this entailed 7 universities or sites in Shikoku area. And some 10 to 15 students would actually participate in each of these sites. They would actually live together and learn about the local issues and we'll try to discuss and learn what they can do for the local community. Likewise, in the case of overseas learning, you would go to Indonesia. Japanese students would go to Indonesia sites. They go through three-week program in Indonesia. So this goes back to the number of participants of the SUJI program that you saw earlier. From 2016, the funding from the Inter-University Exchange Project was completed, but we still were able to sustain the project even without the particular funding. Now, as far as this program is concerned, we had the following curriculum. In the case of Ehime University, we had the general education program. This was part of the supplemental section. And each university, again, in the beginning, they were funded by Inter-University Exchange Project. They had to give quality assurance. This entailed a lot of discussion. But right now, universities are able to set up their own program. And that is how we are pursuing the program right now. So when all the programs are completed, then the SUJI consortium would provide a certificate. In the case of Japanese, when you come to Japanese villages, Indonesian students are amazed by the depopulation in the Japanese communities. They found that there's no one living in these Japanese rural communities. Japanese students, when they go to Indonesian rural communities, they're amazed that there are more people, that the growth is more vibrant than they had envisioned. So overcoming this gap was important. Learning about the gap, they tried to come up with more sustainable farming as a result of this exchange. So they learned together based on these shared experiences. Now, as for ourselves, when you go to fishing villages and rural villages, we are faced with challenges, and we feel that we are compelled to do something. But then we have this goal. We have something called the SUJI servant leader. We want to develop 5 capabilities of the SUJI servant leader: jumping into new environment, exploring, observing, taking action, working together, and reflecting and sharing. These are the 5 capabilities of SUJI servant leaders which we want to explore. And we are focused on those 5 capabilities. And in such a manner, we create a rubric type of structure. Self-assessment is done by students, and they will try to identify what they have learned as a result based on the self-assessment. And these 5 capabilities are used as indicators for the students to carry out self-appraisal. So students, when they graduate from these programs, what will happen is this. One of the features is that students who are overseas oriented, students who are interested in contributing overseas, these students, and also students who want to do something with Japanese communities, domestic oriented students, we find that the students with 2 different directions are able to come together and learn from one another. One student said that when he thought that when we talk about global, that was very difficult. But then once one is involved, maybe if you multiply local by local, it becomes global. That was one of the feedback from one of the students. And I believe that this is indeed one of the advantages of the SUJI learning program, very unique to this program. So once this program is over, these students go on to different local communities. They try to contribute to local communities. They also join the SUJI network, and exchanges between students continue through the SUJI network even after their graduation. Now this shows you some program budget. It's very difficult, as you can see, it's very challenging. In the first 5 years, we received funding from the Inter-University Exchange Project. We were subsidized, but then after 5 years, there is no funding available. But each of these universities had the intent to continue on this project. So therefore, at different universities, they found their own financing. And these programs are still underway based on these independent financing by different universities. In the case of Indonesia, this is getting a lot of attraction and attention. And even in the days of COVID-19, Indonesian embassy personnel came to us. And as a result, these programs are now underway. And they approached whether or not a university would be interested in continuing with SUJI programs. And this was called upon by the Indonesian embassy. Now, in the case of COVID-19, we pursue programs based on online exchange. I'm sure this applies to universities. We would use Zoom, we would use online whiteboard. We also used Gayatown, Barbella, virtual space as well. We tried, it was a trial. So with Indonesia, we really tried different technologies. We believe that this can be reflected in strategic programs ongoing. So maybe you could have a hybrid programs between online and the face-to-face. We hope that we can do this in a hybrid fashion down the road. Thank you. Let me conclude. So let me try to talk about our strategic partnership. And also, we created a consortium for the purpose of strategic partnership. So we created a consortium based on individual level bond. And also, we were through the efforts rendered by different universities, this became success. And of course, there is a difference in the calendar among the universities. This was reflected in the number of credits. Also, when it comes to field work, we had different cultures. In Japan, when it comes to field work, it was more about crisis management, and faculty would be accompanying such on-site field work. But from in addition, teachers, they would question why it is that faculty need to lead students in the field work. So therefore, some difficulties pertain to differences in culture. Right now, in the case of Japanese students, when they go to Indonesia, faculty would always accompany them. But then when Indonesian students come to Japan, they are not accompanied by their faculty, and so the Japanese faculty would lead. So there's an imbalance between the two in this regard. And right now, 300 students are joined through chat and Facebook. They're still connected. And some alumni actually get married. And also some set up their own business, they find work. And as a result, even after graduation, they create a network. They create a new level of network as a result. So little by little, we are able to develop human resources that can contribute to sustainability. That has been the experience of the past 10 years, and our contribution has become more visible. We would like to continue to monitor the situation. And for this year, we believe that we'll be able to evolve the situation further. We'll be always looking forward to new initiatives. We want to develop new human resources along the way. We also want to focus, we would also like to carry out follow-up of alumni and seek our contribution to world peace. That's all for the presentation by Ehime University. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Professors Kobayashi and Shimagami. For Suji Consortium, you have introduced to that. With the global, I believe this was quite new compared to the other presentations. Thank you very much. Now, from Waseda University, Vice President for International Affairs, Professor Masahiko Genma, will be giving his presentation on strategic partnerships and overseas offices.
I'd like to discuss strategic partnerships and overseas offices in the case of Waseda University. Why do Waseda University needs strategic partnerships? Today, we have over 500 university-wide agreements. And then department to department or faculty to faculty agreements, we have more than close to 900 agreements we have. And then we renew these agreements every 5 years. So strategic partnerships give us plans, our strategic plans for our collaborations with the international partners. Vision 150, this is our plan for the future. In 2032, which is not too far away, in 10 years, Waseda University will be 150 years old. And then, so we have targets, we have objectives to achieve in education, research, and global engagement activities. And then one of the means to achieve the global goals in education and research and global engagement is developing the strategic partners in the globalized world. So I'll take just 2 examples. The case of the global partnership with the University of Bonn in Germany and ULB, Free University of Brussels in Belgium. Okay, and then I think something new in my presentation is that I discuss our overseas offices. We have a European office in the Brussels, actually on the campus of ULB. So how that European office has been contributing for our global strategies, concerning this with these strategic partnerships. I'd like to discuss. Okay, so the first case is with the case of University of Bonn. History is like this. We have a long history, more than 60 years of experience with engagement with the University of Bonn. So we signed up the university-wide agreement in 1960, 61 years ago. And then during this period, more than 80 Bonn students have been at Bachelor University as exchange students. And then 62 Bachelor students have been at Bonn. So every year, just one student visit, and then we host one student. It's not a big number, but we have been continuously keeping that our relationship in education. From 1990 to 2016, we had Bachelor European Center on the campus of the University of Bonn. And then we moved our European office to the Brussels, the campus of ULB, which I'll be talking about in the second case. So we had, the importance of Bonn diminished. The capital of Germany moved Bonn to Berlin. And then also that apparently, since the Bonn of the European Commission, Brussels has been the headquarters of the European community for the past over 60 years. So to engage with the partners in Europe in research, especially in research, it became more important for us to be close to the headquarters of the European Commission. So we moved our European office to Brussels. Okay, and then 2017 we had the University of Bonn Day at Bachelor University, and then later I'll talk about after 2 years from Bonn University Day at Bachelor. We had Bachelor Day at Bonn, and then we were supposed to have a 2020 60th anniversary event at Bachelor. However, just because of the pandemic, we were not able to physically meet and then conduct the Bonn University Day at Bachelor in 2020. But looking back at 2019, we had the interesting workshop, philosophy, and then we have historical issues with cholera. So we have scholars dealing with reconciliation, and then taking the example of Koreans. So we discussed that historical issues. And then we had our European society faces also aging problems. So we discussed advanced research opportunities on aging society in Europe and Japan. Then we also discussed robotics and AI. Okay, so this one was held for over 2 days successfully. And then another thing is that we have really a core person who can be in between connecting the two institutions. Professor Koichiro Agata, he was named he was appointed by the Bonn ambassador at Bachelor. He has a doctorate degree from the University of Bonn. He was exchange students to the Bonn from Bachelor. But anyway, so he received also another significant award, Eugene and then Ilse Siebold Prize for his high achievements, and then contributions connecting Germany and Japan from a German Research Foundation in 2019. So it was very important that we have been having a core someone who can be always connecting scholars and then students between two institutions. And then now we have a new stage of the partnership with the University of Bonn. University of Bonn has significant, important partnership with the University of St. Andrews in Scotland, Emory University in Georgia, the United States, and then Hebrew University of Jerusalem in Israel. So we're discussing beyond the collaboration between Ambassador and Bonn. We're discussing this 5 or 4 important partners for Bonn. We're discussing globalized collaborations in research, education, and leadership and innovation. We have to see how this will be developed. It's just a study. Okay, so about the ULB, it's a little bit later than the University of Bonn, but we signed the university-wide agreements. And then ULB recognized Bachelor as one of the 10 important partners under this privileged partnership. So we signed. And then we had huge event in 2016, establishment of Bachelor Brussels office. So functions include raising Bachelor's profile in Europe and promoting international research and organizing public conference, academic events, connecting scholars, and then contact with European commissions for potential research activities. We have been a successful achievements. So these are the high-level graduate school level collaborations. We have double degree programs and then coach-tail programs to educate postgraduate students in both institutions. And then, so we had ULB Day at Bachelor, similar events as we had with the Bonn. Okay, and then one of the significant achievements is that we obtained the moonshot project led by Professor Haruko Takeyama. This is about the moonshot Area 5 related with establishing stable food and agricultural environments. So this is dealing with soil, how we come up with that sustainable soil for the stable supply of food. So it's ongoing, it started, and then 1 billion yen for 5 years allocation was decided. Because of the pandemic, we haven't been able to really collaborate with the European partners, but this year we plan to do the workshops and then start really collaborating with the European partners through this moonshot project. So this is the conclusions. So strategic partnership allow us to deepen relations with the key partners and explore new opportunities for future collaborations. And then overseas offices, still we have to think of benefits and cost. But so far for the European office, we got this big project that was a huge benefit for us. But having an office is costing a lot to Bachelor. So we have to keep evaluating the performance of our activities in Europe. Okay, so thank you very much. These are the things that I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Gemma. Thank you for introducing your thoughts about strategic partnership. There's an overlap with the presentation made by Osaka University as well. This was not part of our original intention. If we can delve into this aspect, this will be very interesting. So thank you so much for your insight. Next, we'd like to go on to the final showcase example from the World Language Center of Toyo University, Professor Ho Harness. He will talk about strategic partnerships for English language education, a case in the Philippines. Professor Harness, the floor is yours. Thank you very much. I will take the floor now.
Okay, thank you for inviting me to this symposium. I'd like to thank the organizers and the other presenters for participating. A lot of great ideas. I'm happy that I could receive a lot of good information, and I'm hoping that my presentation will help expand upon our shared knowledge. As mentioned, I will be talking about the Philippines in particular, and what I've gained from the other presentations is something similar that I'll be speaking about as well, and that is a framework of organization. It seems that everybody seems to have a vision for the future, and I think that's a very important starting point, and that way we can start working backwards and implementing activities that will reach our goals and objectives. So with that in mind, Toyo University has its own vision. It's very similar to the other universities' visions. And of course, our university founder, Daisaku Ikeda, has given kind words for our students to grow and face challenges. As we know, anytime that we come in contact with diverse ideas, that we're going to be facing challenges. And in order to overcome these issues, that if we want to have some, great combining of issues, we need four elements to it. And that's basically, we need a basic fundamental understanding of knowledge. We have to start with knowledge, and we want to have a diverse set of knowledge. So with that, we need to kind of make that a very practical sense, and that is quite difficult to do. And students are faced with this idea of creativity, flexibility, but still holding it to their own. And those four ideas are something that we kind of endeavor to instill in our students. Similar to the other presenters, we have a lot of programs that want to develop and be successful. I cannot explain all of this information, so you can go ahead and look at it later in greater detail. And if you have some questions, you can go ahead and contact me at any time. But over on the left-hand side, we have global core, global learning, global mobility, global administration. And obviously, these are the pillars that help us move forward in our grand design. I work in the World Language Center, and we have a lot of different programs that, again, seek to encourage the students to go abroad, to attain their goals. I'm only going to speak about the study abroad program in a sense. And again, listening to the other presenters, we all have different programs and they're all shooting for the same thing. We're endeavoring for the same thing. So I'm very happy to see that. And I've gotten some good ideas. So again, if you can kind of look at the information later, perhaps you can gain some information from me as well. So I wanted to talk about our program with the University East. And one of the things that I heard in the other presentations is that the presidents, the leaders of the university are getting together. And I think that's a really important point to emphasize here. And it's not that the presidents are just kind of huddled in their office by themselves. These are very public displays. And I think that's really important for the other people involved in the program. The other presenters mentioned that, the staff, the faculty, the students, all of these people need to feel connected and be a part of this program. And I think it starts with these ceremonies and that the presidents are visiting each other's campuses. Again, this is a very important physical display, and I think it has a very cascading effect. And our first presenter, Schwarzenegger, mentioned this idea as well, that when they come on campus, this display is very important in the sense of everyone can feel the connection in this agreements that we're making. So as you can see here, we have two pictures of the SOCA president visiting the University of East and the University of East president visiting SOCA University. Here are some other photos, again, not of the presidents, but the other people involved. And again, we have many different levels of involvement in this program, and I think that's very important to emphasize. So we have the administrators talking to the administrators. We have the faculty talking to the faculty. We have students talking to the students. And these relationships, over time, help build stability and sustainability in the programs. And I think these are all important ideas that we must continue with. So the synergy between the programs, I'd like to kind of talk a little bit about the universities and Soka University in 3 different ways. We have a teacher program, we have a teaching practicum program, and we have study abroad. There are other elements as well. We have a symposium that we do, but again, there's just too little time, too much information to kind of highlight. And I want to kind of highlight some of the best practices that we're doing at the moment. So the teacher exchange. University of East teachers obviously can come to Soka University, and Soka University can go to the University of East. And we do different workshops, different type of training. And I think that's really important in the sense of understanding our different teaching contexts. By exposing the teachers to the different students' situations, when we do the study abroad program, the different teachers can maybe understand that a little bit better and make their teaching activities a little more suited for our students. So the other element that happens here is the teacher exchange that come to Soka, they also teach in the study abroad program. So again, it's this idea of it just not one thing. It's not an isolated case. The teachers go from one part to another part, and it's this shared information that is very helpful in the study abroad program. The other aspect is we have a teaching practicum from the MA TESOL program. And again, our students are able to go to the University and practice their teaching methods. It takes about 2 months to do. And again, it's really important in the sense that our students have experience teaching in Japan, but now they get a chance to teach in another country in a different context. And that has a very important impact on how they see teaching. And again, if we go back to the idea of diversity, this globalization, when students come into our class from a different background, we have different expectations and we have to deal with that. And this small element allows for the teachers to gain some experience, but it also allows the teaching advisors to talk with each other and to show or to see how the different teaching situations differ and what can benefit the students more and how can it benefit the university more. The last element that I'd like to kind of talk about in a little more detail is the study abroad program itself. This is a very short study abroad program. And I think it's quite important to highlight some of the information here because in Japan, most of the study abroad participants are involved in very short study abroad programs. And when I say short, less than 5 weeks time. So what is a common profile of our students? This is from about approximately 500 students. Most, not quite half, but almost half of the students are first-year students. They're most likely to be female and most likely to be the first time abroad, right? So again, if we have this concept in mind, it will help us maybe prepare them better and think about activities that they can do successfully in another country. So that profile, again, is just the one element that helped us think about our study abroad program. So what are some reasons why they study abroad? They want to visit the host country. It doesn't have to be the Philippines per se, but in this particular case, they want to visit the Philippines. They want to learn English. And a lot of them just say they want to experience something outside of Japan. So as I mentioned earlier, Soka has many different programs. We have a lot of different elements to it. So why are they selecting this program? And I think the cost is something that I probably have to full stop and talk about. The cost, I think, reflects our relationship with the University of the East. It costs about 100,000 yen, juman yen, for the students to participate. And I don't think this price could have been given without the relationship factor involved. this idea of trust. It's just not a transactional thing. And again, when the presidents meet, the faculty meet, and that relationship is developed, then costs can come down, or we can do things more for the students. The other reason is length of time, which again, these are very common responses in Japan when we talk about study abroad. Students want shorter time, and then the convenience. They want to do it between semesters. I know this is a real issue in Japan at the moment of how our timing works, semester systems and things like that. That's been on discussion for many years now. So that's something that we'll have to consider. When we talk to the students about their language development, I think, again, the assumption is we go study abroad and language magically appears. Students become great speakers instantly. And we know that's not the case, that they need to talk to someone. And this idea of a buddy system, I think, is really important. And I think if you don't have the buddy system in place, you should be thinking about creating a buddy system. And in this particular case, we pair up our students with UE students so that our students can talk to someone their same age. It's another university student, shared lives, if you will, inside the classroom and outside the classroom. So it gives them a chance to engage in different aspects of society. So it's not just about the language, but that obviously really helps them in their language development. We've talked to the Filipino teachers, and again, going back to the exchange, it allows access to talk to them instead of some faraway teachers that we don't know. They're a part of SOCA, and that we can talk to them. And so they can say, we'd like to know more information about how you do preparation or follow-up. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in the next slide. And then the other aspect is talking to the Filipino administrators. And they were very happy that our program wasn't about standardized test scores, that they weren't going just to learn English to get a higher test score. That I think what was implied here is that our students were going to the Philippines to learn more than language, that they wanted to learn about the Philippines and the people of the Philippines. And I think Amy's program as well, students want to go to Indonesia and do those things as well because they want to know more than the language. And I think this is kind of this idea of equality and openness. And again, if the presidents are meeting, the faculty meeting, the administrators are meeting, this all generates an idea of openness and that we can work together more effectively. And then the last point, we were able to develop a survey specifically for short-term study abroad programs, which helps with our helps with our pre-departure and our post-return sessions. And I'll talk about that in a moment. So just general observations of our program. So I think, as many of us have already said, good communication. It starts with good communication at all levels. That's really, really important. And I think the costs as well are important. Many students have said it's very expensive to go. And so I think by making the relationship stronger, we can talk about costs more realistically. And as I mentioned, the survey then helps with the pre-departure and the post-return sessions and the development of, again, expectations. What are they getting out of the program, and how can they effectively use the program in the future? I've already mentioned the buddy system, and I think that's a very good idea that all universities should kind of consider, which allows students to engage in the community outside the classroom. Again, study abroad should be about engaging in the culture, engaging in others' society and how they can gain from that. And again, most students can learn a lot about Japan when they visit somewhere else that is not Japan, so they can reflect and see that. Some challenges going forward. This is a 10-day program, so it's very intense. There's no time to relax. It's quite structured. When it's structured, it can be positive because obviously it's organized, but also that can be a flaw because students kind of follow along. So I think the buddy system allows a little bit of flexibility within the structure. And then the last point is sickness. Again, kids going abroad often get homesick, even on the short ones. Food sicknesses, I mean, there's a variety of things. As we know with the pandemic, there's a lot of sicknesses going on, which kind of goes back to the pre-departure and post-return sessions. I think those are integral parts of our study abroad program. In case they get sick, they miss a day, that we can do some follow-up, especially if it's done for credit. And the last thing that I can mention is connecting their study abroad experience to their college life going further. I think that needs to be developed even more so, instead of just kind of going and coming back and finished. I think we need to do more in the sense of connecting it to their life beyond that experience. And then one final comment. We haven't had any negative comments of the program, which again, for me, is a bit of a worry. I would like to say no negative comments, but yeah, there has to be something. So I'm always wary when a program is perfect. I don't think the program is perfect, but it's pretty good. So at the moment, I'm pretty happy. And I'm hoping the students in the future will be maybe strong enough or willing enough to kind of say, this can be improved a little bit more. So instead of just the teacher saying it. So I'd like to thank everybody for sharing their ideas. I hope my ideas also contributed to that. And with that, I'd like to say thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Honus. But as supporting the program, including the training program at the different levels of university, you have multi-layered the mechanism being made available. Now we would like to have questions that are being collected. So from the Q&A box, I would like to select some questions. First of all, for Osaka University, there is a question for you. At the University of Tokyo in 2014 and the 2020, there had been the phase 3. And for Kyoto University, you have a review every 3 years. In Osaka University, you have stipulated the roadmap. So what is the duration? What is the length of period for each phase, if you would be able to introduce to us? Thank you. Thank you for the question. So let me respond. The strategic partnership, when the agreement has been reached, that is the starting point. Let me give you one example. In 2019, there has been agreement for strategic partnership being concluded. In such a case, there will be the matching process to be gone through, and it takes about 2 years. And then there will be activity phase, about 3 years. And then for phase 3, in the case of Osaka, we have the World Exposition being held. So for the overseas, the result of our engagement and exchange programs will be made a showcase at the World Exposition. So phase 3 will be 3 years or so. Thank you. There's a question to University of Tokyo.
This is for Tokyo University. You mentioned that you have diverse programs, but about the structure that support these diverse programs? For example, in the case of you have professional staff for education and research, is that the case? How do you do the matching process? What about the numbers? Can you talk about some numbers pertaining to the structure that support your diverse programs? Professor Watanabe, would you like to respond? Yes, thank you very much for your question. At the University of Tokyo, well, we have a very unique structure. The thing is, for each team, for each strategic partnership program, we have a special team that is responsible for each partner. We also have faculty that are assigned to handling such relationships. And also, with regard to activities taken part by the counterparts, budgets are allocated. Against the backdrop, there's some budget to organize this whole program. That budget has been assigned. So as a result, each given teams, so the teams that are responsible for handling the counterpart universities, we're able to hire personal dedicated staff. We're able to assign certain budget to organize such programs. So So that being the case, for each given team, with regard to events being carried out by each counterpart universities, the faculty of the team and the supporting faculty, they are able to work and organize these events. Now, with regard to strategic partnership overall, we have this international strategy headquarters that are responsible, and we have several dedicated staff that are assigned to these headquarters. Thank you very much.
ありがとうございます。
Thank you very much. So today there are the university representatives are working as panelists. If you have any question to the other panelists, please go ahead. Please feel free to raise them. If not, then there is another question. This will be the last question from the Q&A box. This is once again to Osaka University. No, sorry. There is a new question to Waseda University. So this will be the last question. To Waseda University, you have two overseas centers. For example, Professor Agata, Professor Takeyama were mentioned. They are key persons who have been quite instrumental. Now, going forward, the relationship which have been achieved and concluded amongst the faculty members, how to expand that, if you have any advice or ideas. So, Professor Gemma, would you like to respond to this question? For faculty, they have a joint research, and they have such researchers in partner universities. And it is possible and easy for them to be engaged in joint research. But because there are different departments, you have social sciences and you also have engineering and science departments. In engineering science departments, it could be very long term. And rather than individuals, you may have some group activities, and you would have a dialogue and debate and trying to gain more in-depth the information and ideas. At the university, for mobility, for those projects which have good outputs, we would like to continue to provide support. And for the faculty members, they may accompany students try to visit the partner university. So we would like to allocate budget for different types of activities, and then we can continue to have a good relationship and further make the closer relationship. But through academic societies, you may have your own relationship. You don't have to really seek partners in that regard. But in various different ways, we are trying to support the faculty members so they can expand the research.
Thank you so much for the many questions, but we don't have the time to respond, and we have to conclude it at this juncture. We'd like to thank all the panelists. Last but not least, I would like to involve closing remarks by Vice President for International Strategy at Toyo University, Professor Yasuyuki Kono, for closing remarks. Professor Kono, the floor is yours.
Thank you. As has been designated, I would like to say a few words at closing. From the MEXT, we had Ms. Kishimoto Orie, as well as Professor Dr. Christian Schwarzenegger from the University of Zurich. Both keynote speeches were quite provocative as well as stimulating. And from the different member universities of the Japanese Forum, you have given us the highly unique activities for each of your universities. And such diversity is quite important. On the other hand, for the past 2 years, I'm sure you have gone through a lot of difficulties, but you have been actively utilized the ICT for virtual and online workshops and seminars that you were able to take advantage of the past relationships. And I would like to pay my due respect for all the efforts undertaken. To learn from each other, having these opportunities is quite valuable. So I would like to thank University of Tokyo hosting the meeting today. Lastly but not least, if I could share my own impressions, for Japanese universities are quite lagging behind when it comes to globalization and internationalization. But as I listen to the different presentations, including the ministry, you are making efforts to a great extent. But on the other hand, I myself specialize in Southeast Asia research and studies. And postdocs from Southeast Asia actually come to study at my university. They graduate from the university. They go to Europe and have master's degree, and they get the doctorates at Singapore, for example, and they're employed in the United States or China. There are so many students who adopt such career. But then these are the talents who would be the leaders in the studies and research. But in Japan, this is something missing. It's too simple as a career. But to have overseas students who have such diverse career paths, it may be good that the Japanese students will be able to learn such experience from the others. At the Japanese universities, to have our students take doctorates at our own university may not do going forward. We need a new form of university to be established in this country. For example, as Professor Schwarzenegger has mentioned, that in Europe, you have the UNA Europe, and that students are able to freely choose where to study and where to obtain the degree. That could be the one example. And for Ehime University, this is just for short-term program, but between Japan and Indonesia, students can freely come to and fro and be able to learn and study in their own way. This could be another new type of university model for Japan as well. And 10 years or 15 years from now, a new form of university is something we have to start considering. And in that regard, strategic partnerships would be something helpful and of good reference. So that is how I have been listening to the different presentations. I have been talking at length. Once again, thank you very much for your cooperation and support.
Thank you very much, Professor Kono. We'd like to thank all the guest lecturers and the panelists for sharing their time with us. I do apologize for going overboard with the time. With this, we'd like to conclude the Strategic Partnership Symposium. We really appreciate your cooperation. Thank you so much. Also, we have also indicated the URL for responding to questionnaire. We would appreciate your feedback after this program is over. Thank you once again for joining us at this symposium. We really appreciate your attendance. Thank you. With this, we'd like to conclude this session. Thank you very much and good day.